Welcome back to DHN. Happy Sunday to you. As you can see, got my breakfast and the coffee with me this morning. I kept it light, a little peanut butter toast and some Turkish bacon. But that's not the point of this video. What we're going to talk about is the FEDNOW instant payment system. You guys know it's getting ready to launch next month. So with that, it has me curious. Has anything changed? Has there been any updates? Have there been any projects that we're holding that have strengthened their relationship to the FEDNOW and its many participants? Well, that's what this video is going to focus on. We're going to cover the latest news, and I'm also going to talk about what the FEDNOW system is going to be, what it's going to look like, what it's not going to look like. It's going to be a very informative video. So you're watching DHN. It's time to talk crypto. So if you look online, there are multiple descriptions and theories as to what the FEDNOW instant payment system is going to be. They even say that it could replace the dollar entirely, and with that also replace the utility of a lot of our favorite crypto projects like XRP and Stellar Lumens. Well, I've been covering the FEDNOW since 2021, and I'm going to share with you exactly what it is based on my understanding. This is a brand new payment system created by banks for instant settlement. Typically, when you're doing transactions or transfers using a wire or ACH, it takes a number of days. With the FEDNOW, all of these transactions will be able to move 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and all the days of the year. It's going to be able to do this because FEDNOW will be running ISO 20022 compatible messaging. This is also going to include APIs, which will serve as added channels for connectivity. In the video on March 20th, we talked a whole lot about how important APIs are going to be to this whole ISO migration. And you got to keep in mind too, everybody has switched over now. So without that technology, this wouldn't be able to happen. We wouldn't be looking at this reality right now. So the FEDNOW is also going to cover all types of transactions. This includes business to business, consumer to consumer, business to consumer, account to account, which is something I'm fairly new to. Walmart and Kroger actually are looking to work with the FEDNOW for that type of setup. We're going to touch more about that a little bit later. It's a very interesting story. What I think is how this is gonna feel though in real time is that we're gonna see payments get processed a lot faster. For example, typically when you go to buy something online, you use your debit card, you put your debit card number in there. When you go to hit the buy now button, your debit card sends that message to your bank. If the bank is able to verify that transaction, they'll send it through right away. Or if it's off hours or on a weekend, then you'll oftentimes see that payment processed on a Monday if you ordered something on a Saturday. With the FEDNOW, it's no longer going to be that issue. What happens is when you go to buy something online, you put your debit card in, you hit the buy now button, that then gets sent to the FEDNOW, who communicates with your bank. If the FEDNOW has liquidity, which they promise 24/7 liquidity. It's very strange how many similarities to on-demand liquidity and FEDNOW liquidity that I'm seeing. But what's going to happen is the process is going to go through instantly. It's going to happen. You're not going to have to worry about it. And that's what's going to begin to change people's minds. And I think it's going to desensitize everyone to a new way of doing payments, right? Now, initially, there are more than 200 participants that are going to go live with this next month. And these include banks, credit unions, service providers from both the public and private sector. So all your large banks that work with the Federal Reserve, all the way down to your commercial banks. There's another term for it. Can't remember it right now, but it's covering the whole thing. All right. Covering the whole country. Now, what it is not is a new currency. This is not a CBDC. This is essentially a liquidity system that has been created amongst America's banks. Simply put, guys, what it's going to allow for, though, is the incorporation of digital asset technologies. Now, there have been privacy concerns raised, and after reading the documentation, I can understand why. The Fed is going to have full control over the transactions that go in and out of this system. anyone can use it. Any type of retailer, financial institution, service provider, they can use it. But at the same time, the Fed has the power to block people from using it. So with these type of situations, I like to remain positive. We already know the government has a history of doing malicious things. But again, I have an optimistic outlook. And then you have to remember the overall narrative here. We are going through a digital transition, ladies and gentlemen. So I really feel that this is one of the small chapters, small pieces to a much larger puzzle. Now, something else to think about too is that this is going to include everything. The U.S. Department of Treasury is also one of the bodies participating in this FEDNOW program. The U.S. Department of Treasury oversees things like DHS, food stamps, guaranteed basic income programs, Social Security. So if you're a participant in some of those programs, you're about to see an accelerated amount of benefits. Okay, things are about to change. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I've been covering FEDNOW since they made the announcement in early 2021, and there have been a number of blockchains that have popped up. There have been a number of theories, rumors, and who's going to go here and who's going to working with that. But I'm going to show you the one connection that I have been able to find that is solid. It's between Volante Technologies and Ripple. Volante Technologies is one of the companies that not only participated in the FEDNOW pilot program, but they will be among the 200 plus participants that will be launching in July. The application that they're going to be using is called VolPay. VolPay was designed to process payments along Ripple's network, Swift's network, and several other, the CHIPS network, real-time gross settlement, all of these things. ACH, they'll be able to do it through VolPay. So that raises an interesting question. If this is getting ready to launch starting in July, how much longer is this case with the SEC going to go on? Because if you have, you know, the feds using Ripple technology while the SEC is trying to, you know, it raises a lot of questions, guys, raises a lot of questions. Now, even more questions got raised when these two projects started to pop up. We're talking Cypherium and the Metal blockchain. Now, we were all over Cypherium in the beginning, trying to figure out where this thing came from. Okay, lots of strange information. It's apparently a US-based blockchain with Chinese funding, right? But the problem is, if you look at the price, there's been no price activity. You look at their social media, there's been no social activity. There's been nothing to come out of this but rumors. And then more recently, we got the announcement from the Metal blockchain. Now, I went and looked into this Metal blockchain, and it's a similar situation here, guys. Yes, they boast partnerships with, you know, big tech companies. And according to their website, they are comparing their blockchain to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Polkadot. Now, apparently, not only is the Metal blockchain compatible with the Bank Secrecy Act, this is according to them again, but they can also process infinite transactions. Infinite? And they can do it in half a second. Well, if that's the case, then, and I'm going to be sure to pull up this screenshot because this is a funny looking price chart. If that was the case, then why does this price chart look like the bottom of the Titanic? Okay? Like, seriously, all time, well, it doesn't even look like an, yeah, this is the all-time high, $1.60. And even after the announcement, there was no price activity at all. But here's what scares me even more. Centralized exchange volume on average, 22 grand in 24 hours, 22,000. And then current self-reported circulating supply sits at 6%. Maximum supply is 666,666,666. Look, I've been in this space since 2019, guys, and I ain't never seen nothing like that. So, in my humble opinion, I don't think those two chains are going to be involved with this going forward. They're not going to be able to compete with other projects like XRP, Stellar, and hey, even XDC, ladies and gentlemen, because these transactions are covering the entire board here. They're covering everything. So this is what it has me thinking, right? The FEDNOW is going to be compatible with any bank, any credit institution of any size. Okay. And it's going to heavily rely on the use of API connections. Again, the reason why I made that important to you, I pointed that out because the projects with API capabilities are going to be the ones that have the best advantage here. Okay, IBM has a very particular position when it comes to the coding. They're using something called IBM MQ. Now, I'm not a developer or coder, so I can't really, provide something towards what I think that might evolve into. But from my understanding, it's a coding database that allows multiple programming languages to be used in order to create these connections. So that further opens up everything, ladies and gentlemen. With that, though, this liquidity management system, here's what's interesting to me. There's a PDF that's associated with all the documentation you can get from the FEDNOW's website. And they talk about how banks on FEDNOW, this is what contributes to the 24/7 365 ability, is the fact that they can share liquidity amongst each other during off hours. Now, that to me sounds exactly like on-demand liquidity, doesn't it? And let's just say, hypothetically here, Ripple gets past the SEC, everything's in the clear, and then Ripple Liquidity Hub can now market to U.S. customers. I'm just saying. Now, earlier, I talked about Walmart and Kroger, and I found an interesting article, okay? So apparently, Walmart and Kroger are reportedly interested in using FedNow to give customers an alternative to card payments. According to Payments Dive, which cited documents from the retailers, they state that they would be looking to open real-time payments and account-to-account transfers. This is something that has not been, it hasn't been able to take off because there hasn't been an infrastructure to process it at the speed it needs to be processed. So what Walmart and Kroger are looking to do, and probably other grocery store chains, is create something similar to a fan rewards program, like fan incentive bonuses. They've done it. They have smaller versions of it, but this is going to take it to the next level. So that's going to give us an idea of what we can expect here. So what we have to start looking for from here is which applications are providing business to consumer connections, consumer to consumer connections, as well as account to account connections. And there are a lot of them, ladies and gentlemen. There are a whole lot of them. That's why we keep our focus on the payment projects. If you subscribe to the channel, you will be the first to know about those developments. Now, let's talk about the impact. Again, this is going to get the entire economy ready for ISO, APIs, digital payments. That's really what I'm seeing here. And it raises another question. Could this connect the FedNow to other instant payment networks? Because there are a couple people participating in the service provider showcase that provide offshore connections. That raises questions. One of them in particular is working in Brazil. Just a second here. I wrote it down. It was Matera. Okay. And guys, I keep my eye on Brazil because of the BRICS Association. Matera allows they were the same system that Pix used to essentially accelerate their instant payment network throughout Latin America. Now the US is using that same company to do the same thing here. So very interesting with that. And also with all of this added liquidity available, how is this going to affect the markets? And I'm talking crypto and stocks, ladies and gentlemen, because now all of those transactions can happen overnight. People can now invest into the stock market in the middle of the night on a Saturday. That's what the FedNow is going to bring. And then lastly, I touched on it earlier, the government funded programs, DHS, basic income, Social Security, things like that. What is going to happen to those things? Okay. These are all the things that I'm thinking about, and how I'm looking at it is these create opportunities for the projects that we hold to provide solutions, which is the whole point, ladies and gentlemen. So again, it's a lot to think about, but it really has me excited. It really has me excited. Now, what we know for sure are these two things. Ripple technology is being used. This is clear as day. All right. So you can place your bets on XRP. This also opens the door for digital asset technologies to incorporate into the system. So XRP, Stellar, Crypto.com. Do not forget about Crypto.com, ladies and gentlemen, and all of this, because one of the important things to notice is that if Crypto.com gets they're getting these asset service provider licenses. If they secure one here in the United States, that means that through their relationships with Google Pay, Apple Pay, MasterCard, so forth and so on, they can process FedNow transactions. And at the same time, let's keep this in mind too. Yes, this will put all of our transactions on a central ledger. It will. It will. But this is the point where you have to ask yourself the tough questions. This is what we are investing in. So, I'm just here to give you the information, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just here to give you the information how I see it. That's all I'm here for. But let me know your thoughts, guys. You know I love reading your comments and getting feedback. Figured this was a nice little Sunday video to get us ready for the week. Got some big things planned. Of course, if you found value in this content, hit that like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and ring that notification bell so that way you don't miss the next episode. All right? That's very important. Now, with all of that said, you know what I want you to do, guys. I want you to have a great day, have a prosperous day, and most importantly, if that money is digital, and we can see that it is, so is the hustle. My name is Wade, and I'll see you in the next episode.